want you to hit me as hard as you can.
The Kingsman is a movie whose very existence seems almost like a miracle. When 20th Century Fox was still a thing, Matthew Vaughn's The Kingsman series seemed to be the next big franchise for the studio behind Deadpool, Alien, Predator, Die Hard, and many more. However, when they were acquired by Disney and they became 20th Century Studios, suddenly this once promising series was left in limbo. After all, Vaughn's series is unapologetically profane and R-rated. How would it ever fit into the House of Mouse? Indeed, The Kingsman, which is a prequel to the first two Kingsman movies, Kingsman: The Secret Service and Kingsman: The Golden Circle, was supposed to shoot back-to-back with a potential Kingsman sequel that would wrap up the story of Taron Egerton's Eggsy and Colin Firth's Hart. That film, however, seems unlikely to happen now, but at least we have Vaughn's prequel, The Kingsman, which has sat on the shelf for a while due to the pandemic. As profane and R-rated as ever, this film examines the history of the Kingsman organization, with it popping up during the First World War under the stewardship of the original Arthur, Ralph Fiennes' Orlando Oxford. A former operative, after being widowed during the Boer War, he's turned into a die-hard pacifist, raising his son, Harris Dickinson's Conrad, to help him with his Red Cross work. His former kick-ass colleagues, Damon Hunsu's Shola and Gemma Arterton's Polly, have helped him establish a network of spy agents that work as servants, who give the aristocratic Oxford tips so he can help serve his beloved King George, as played by Tom Hollander. As the First World War heats up, thanks to the machinations of a diabolical organization that counts Rhys Ifans, Rasputin, and Valerie Packner's Mad Hari as agents, Oxford is forced to break his oath of pacifism to once again fight for his country. Now, what's interesting about Matthew Vaughn's The Kingsman is the way it both follows the formula of the original movies and subverts it. Like the original, it's led by a posh English actor you'd never really expect to lead an action movie, in this case Ralph Fiennes, who was probably scared away from the genre for good after 1998's Avengers. He starts off here as a character not unlike his M from the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, but a lot more emotional, with him a devoted father who only really cares about the well-being of his son, with king and country second. Circumstances push him into action and he in effect becomes a James Bond-like figure, fighting it out with the baddies, jumping from airplanes, and sword-fighting Rhys Ifans' evil Rasputin. However, it also subverts expectations of the first film, showing that the Kingsman Agency was never meant to be as posh and aristocratic as it became, with Fiennes a forward-thinking here who treated his servants as friends and equals, earning their undying loyalty. Harris Dickinson, as Fiennes' son, gives the film a stronger emotional current than the others did, with the two devoted to each other in a way that's never really been shown in the franchise yet, even giving the film an unexpectedly emotional and tragic quality in the third act, which also departs from the formula as far as which of the lead characters takes center stage. Overall, The Kingsman is so much fun that you really hope against all odds the film is enough of a success to continue the franchise. It's far superior to the overstuffed The Golden Circle, hewing closer to the original film, but also continuing with a little less of the laddish humor that put off some of the audience in the first two movies, making this a deeper, altogether more emotional spy yarn. Fiennes is an inspired choice to play the lead, with him as unlikely an action star as one could imagine. Like what happened when Bob Odenkirk in Nobody suddenly showed up and kicked a ton of ass, watching this middle-aged character actor become a total badass gives the movie a charge it wouldn't have had otherwise, and Fiennes is terrific in an atypical part. Dickinson also shines as his well-intentioned son who yearns for battlefield glory despite his father's attempts to protect him. Gemma Arterton turns action heroine as Conrad's nanny, whose love for Oxford Senior is unrequited. Rhys Ifans chews the scenery here as the villainous Rasputin, who's reimagined as a supervillain. But the guy who totally steals the show here is Damon Hunsu. He's Oxford's loyal bodyguard, and he has the movie's most memorable action sequence as he goes mano a mano with Ifans as the 1812 Overture by Tchaikovsky fills the soundtrack. Like Fiennes, he's never really been an action star before, but watching him here, you wonder why he never got those kinds of roles before, as well. Hunsu kicks a lot of ass. The supporting cast is jam-packed as usual for a Vaughn film, with Tom Hollander playing three roles as the cousins King George, Kaiser Wilhelm, and Tsar Nicholas, who hold the fate of Europe in their hands. Charles Dance also shows up as Fiennes' mentor, Lord Kitchener, while Aaron Taylor Johnson has a cameo that I assume is meant to pay off in future installments, if they ever happen. The score by Matthew Margeson and Dominic Lewis is excellent, probably the best in the franchise so far, benefiting that thanks to the period setting, there's not as many needle drops. Indeed, Indeed, while this is definitely a fun romp, The Kingsman is a bit more of a serious spy thriller than its predecessors, with a strongly emotional turn by Fiennes in the lead, and a more focused plot than The Golden Circle. It's a lot of fun, and I really hope that people support it theatrically, because, well, it's pretty damn good. I give this a strong 8 on 10.
Kingsman, world's finest tailor. But now we're going into the spy business. Very clever.
Based on true events.
This will not be a war of heroes.
Meet history's most evil legends. The assassin, Gavrilo Princip. Weakness, throwing arm. Strength, started World War I. The super spy, Mata Hari. Strength, screen presence. Weakness, scarves.
Did you forget your manners?
Guilty as charged.
And the crazed monk, Rasputin. Strengths and weaknesses. You'll have to see it for yourself.
Is good, no?
Yes, very.
On December 22nd,
Our enemies think we are gentlemen. It's time to remind them what the Kingsmen are.
nobility is born in blood.
Boys are always so messy.
The King's Man. Only in theaters December 22nd.